This is the Cubs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Cubs Postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. My name's Joe George. You find me on all social media platforms at Joe George Radio. And the Cubs get it done and win 6-0. Matthew Boyd, 7 shutout innings. The Cubs steal 7 bases in the game. They get some runs early. They get some run late. And a lot of small ball happening in this game today. First things first, how awesome was that shutout from Matt and Sam during the 7th inning stretch? That was super cool to hear. So that was a really cool moment for them tonight. Matt's going to have a show coming up after this one tonight, coming up here on the channel. We will start today's show off, but we'll get to our Locked On Player of the Game. But before we get to Matthew Boyd, I want to get to something we don't do it often, but we're going to get to our turning point of tonight's game.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, so before we get to Matthew Boyd, who, yes, Eric says, spoiler alert here, and your comments are welcome in the chat. Boyd is the locked-on player of the game again, as he is in every single start, basically, that he is for the Cubs. But the turning point of this game, this moment can't go unnoticed. Matthew Boyd here in the 5th inning gets in a little bit of trouble. So you've got bases loaded with 1 out in the inning. The Cubs are up 3-0. They had opportunities to score 2-0 at this point. The Cubs had multiple opportunities in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd to pour on a lot of runs. They didn't do it. So, Cubs fans, I know how we're all feeling. We're not feeling great. We're not feeling great right there. Bases loaded, 1 out. Matthew Boyd's been awesome. But the turning point of this game with Dansby Swanson, a liner right to him, and then the diving tag on the play was just Gold Glove. It's why he's a Gold Glove winner. It's the bat leaves a lot to be desired, for sure. We all get it. But that was an elite moment there for Dansby Swanson. To get it done there, to get the double play was awesome. And then, yes, the Cubs get more runs later, but because they were able to get that double play, to me, that's the turning point of the game. It saves Matthew Boyd's shutout inning streak. It's up to 23 straight innings for Matthew Boyd without giving up a run in a game. So he's been rolling, but that play, again, it's why when I think about why the Cubs are still like legit contenders, for the World Series this year, even though you need them to score. You need them to add things at the deadline. Part of that is it starts with the defense and guys like Dansby Swanson who can make elite level plays. Another great double play later in the game from him as well there in the 9th inning where they just find a way to keep it going. It was awesome. So great play by Dansby Swanson to really keep that thing and right the ship for the Cubs and Matthew Boyd in that moment. So now we will get to our Locked On Player of the Game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
All right, so I just said it there. It's 23 straight innings for Matthew Boyd without giving up a run. 7 tonight against the Royals. He's cooking with gas right now. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits allowed, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 93 pitches on the day, and brings his ERA down to a 2.2 on the season. He's like old school, honestly, like the 71 mile an hour pitch that he's got, and he's cranking it up to the low 90s, but he's dropping it into the 70s. He's kind of doing everything. He's going out there. He has great control, great command of all of his pitches right now. He's able to just constantly go out there and perform really, really well. I think we're past the point of what would you be without Boyd. It's what else can Boyd do this year? I don't think he's going to win a Cy Young, but to be honest, the numbers are starting to look like he deserves to be in the conversation. He might not have the strikeouts, but man, he is shutting every single team down. It doesn't matter whether you're a mediocre team, a bad team, a good team. Boyd just goes out there and just shoves constantly for the Cubs. And that's why he's the locked-on player of the game and why Dansby Swanson deserved the shout-out, because they're really, I think the core reason why the Cubs won this game today to tie the series with the Royals. And look, you got to get another win tomorrow. You've got to win this series. You got to keep stacking W's as much as you can with the way the Brewers are playing right now. I know the game's happening as we're live here, and as we're live at the moment, it's a tie game, 0-0. So we're all standings watching at this point. We're watching whoever the Brewers are playing. besides watching the Cubs games. I think some Cubs fans are watching Brewers games closer than they are watching Cubs games right now because of what's happening in this division race. But he just continues to go out there. And again, I think I said this the last 2 times Boyd started. It excites me for what can be when they add somebody to this rotation to back up Shota, to back up Boyd. They can just really have a very special rotation. And look, yesterday's game, I think it makes you forget some of these things with the way it went with these bullpen games. We talked about it at length in yesterday's show, so we're not going to hit on it again. But again, going through the Red Sox series, and I'm imagining that even with yesterday's performance, I guess because your starter was fine, it was Ben Brown who was the problem. The Cubs have one of the top 2 ERAs in the month of baseball. In this month, in all of baseball, in ERA, the rotation's been phenomenal. But Boyd has been the guy who really just continues to drive this thing for the Cubs. That when you need a win after a disappointing loss and he's on the mound, you feel like he can just keep going out there and getting victories. And that's what he did in this one today. All right, let's see. A couple comments here in the chat. I appreciate the recognition there. I didn't get the shout out. That's okay. I'm new to the channel, but I'm very happy for Matt and Sam. They're awesome. They've been great to me. So I thought that was super cool again that they got the shout out. But thank you for the people saying that there was a snub in there. I do appreciate that here from the chat here on YouTube. All right, we will take a quick break. We'll get to your questions, your comments. I know there's a couple people in here that really want to talk about Matt Shaw, figuring it out maybe. Sure feels like it. So we'll get into that, all of that next, and plus what we saw from the rest of the lineup today from the Cubs. That's all coming up next here on the Locked On Cubs postcast on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball, under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. It's easy to use, fast payout, super important. It makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether you're using same-game parlays or just betting the game straight up, looking at the wind at Wrigley Field and how it's going, if you're going over or under for the run total on the day, FanDuel is the way to go. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today to get started or visit FanDuel.com. All right, what we saw from the lineup today we'll get to here. But so can we talk about Matt Shaw? Eric says that here in the chat. Also someone else, I missed it. T-Wig or Twig, I don't know what it is. Shaw figured it out. Yeah, he's playing great baseball right now for the Cubs coming out of the All-Star break. He talked before the game about, the time off and how that's helped him out there. Whether it's a mechanical thing, approach thing, whatever it is, Matt Shaw is just playing really good baseball right now. The glove's been great, as we know, but 2 for 4 again today. And I think in the Matt Shaw conversation, a lot of it's, focused on either great defense or poor offense. And I think one of the things that's been lost in the shuffle here that we saw on display is the speed. He's got good speed. It's not PCA, but he's got good wheels. And, he hits that little dribbler up the middle. He's safe. And all of a sudden, the Cubs are in business getting their first run of the game. So that's Matt Shaw, getting it done. He's making just better contact with the ball. Obviously, we've seen the ball leave the yard a couple times already since the All-Star break. But he is just really rolling right now. And again, I don't think it's going to change the outlook for the Cubs at the deadline. Maybe not. Maybe not. Like maybe he will do enough to where he will change what the Cubs want to do at the deadline at third base. Again, I've said this multiple times. I would never want to bail on Matt Shaw, but also I think it's fair to say you want to see this for sustained success. But I think Michael says it here in the chat. Really, and I think this is right on point. Shaw is looking confident. We all know baseball is a game about confidence. And when you're in your head, we see these guys struggle. We see the best hitters struggle. Ian Happ struggling this year. Kyle Tucker, another struggle stretch for him. He's getting walks, and hopefully that knee's okay because that looked ugly in the moment. Definitely was a little worried after last year where Kyle Tucker missed months of baseball because he fractured his leg on a very similar play, fractured his shin. But we saw Kyle Tucker stay in the game, steals home later in it, and was looking like he was running pretty well in the outfield. So don't panic if tomorrow afternoon the Cubs tweet out the lineup card and Kyle Tucker's not in it. But at least he stayed in the game because it did not look pretty. I would say in any way, shape, or form there, but he was fine. So also the Cubs, not just Matt Shaw, 7 stolen bases in this game. Justin Turner had 1, Dansby, Kyle Tucker, Nico Hoerner had 2, Seiya Suzuki, and then again Matt Shaw, 7 stolen bags on the day. Everyone just kind of contributing in a way. And yeah, Kyle Tucker, doesn't have a hit, but he has 2 walks. Like that's the thing with Tucker that I think, people want the big, the deep ball to be more frequent. I think we all would. I think Kyle Tucker would probably tell you he would like to be hitting the ball, out of Wrigley Field more frequently, but he just does continue to get on base and contribute in that way. And we saw it pay off in this game where he gets the walk there in the 7th inning to make it bases loaded with no outs. Seiya Suzuki, bloop single, brings it in. The Cubs get their next insurance run, so it's 4-0. Carson Kelly, I thought he hit a grand slam. I don't know if it was crack of the bat, angle on TV. I thought Carson Kelly took that thing yard, but instead it was a very deep sac fly, and the Cubs got the 5-0 lead at that point. And then a kind of a mess of a play, I would say, for the Royals. I mean, look, they definitely helped you out tonight. 3 errors, one of Salvador Perez. That was a tough play. It hit off his wrist on that double play ball that could have been that helped the Cubs score earlier in the game. But multiple errors in this game, and then the play where Tucker scores, where he gets credit for stealing home. You've got a guy taking off for second base. They probably shouldn't have thrown it. They did. All of a sudden, Tucker's safe at home, and the runner is safe at second base. So just kind of finding a bunch of different ways for the Cubs to get it done in this game. And there was also one where it felt like it could have been the turning point of the game. It also in a bad way right before. Was it right before the Dansby play? I think it was. Right after the Dansby play in the bottom of the 5th. Carson Kelly gets that single. PCA hits the ball. Caglione, the Royals, big young prospect who's hitting tanks all over the place in the minors, takes a terrible read on it. It goes over his head. Carson Kelly was hustling around third base, and he was safe by a half a second because PCA gets thrown out at third. So that was nearly a disaster for the Cubs, but it worked out. So look, you take advantage where you can. PCA brings him in. Carson Kelly hustled around the plate. I mean, PCA, he smoked that baseball. And even if it wasn't a bad read, I feel like it still might have got over Caglione's head because it really was just an absolute rip on that play. But for Carson Kelly to score, this is something like I think I kind of want to keep an eye on. I think this is the 3rd time, we've seen really, really aggressive sends from Quentin Berry. Carson Kelly doesn't move fast. He was hustling, but he's not a quick guy on the base pass. But the Dansby play and the Ian Happ play in the Red Sox series, and this one, the Cubs seem more aggressive. At least turning third base a handful of games coming out of the All-Star break. But I like what we saw from this team just overall, making contact, stealing bags. That's the stuff that when the Cubs were going through a little bit of a funk offensively, I felt like they really got away from, getting walks, all those things, the small stuff. Like we know they can smash home runs, and there's going to be days where they do it. But on nights like this where the Royals, like Rich Hill, who I cannot believe he's pitching in the big leagues still. And I mean, they were showing made his debut in 2005. It is crazy that he's 45 years old and still pitching in the big leagues like he is right now. He held the Cubs in check for the most part. It felt like that was going to be the story of the game for a little bit about how well he was pitching for the Royals in this one. But in the end, the Cubs get done and get the W. See a couple other questions here. Eric says, where do we put Assad? I think he just kind of falls into the rotation right now. I mean, as of now, as it stands literally today, assuming, I guess I'll be a pessimist here for a second to answer this question in 2 different ways. The first question is, where do you put him if Jed does nothing at the deadline? Well, then he fills this bullpen spot in the rotation. Coming back in August, him Both Javier Assad and Miguel Amaya should be back in August, assuming both those guys don't have setbacks. He fits in there. Now, they add a player to this team. Even though Cade Horton's really impressed me, like what he did against Garrett Crochet on Sunday, obviously I didn't do a show that day, but watching the game back, like he just was awesome in that game. I just do wonder with Cade Horton, with his innings he's pitched in the minors, in terms of Javier Assad's return, if that will affect him in some way. Kind of where I'm feeling like it's going right now, if both those guys are up and available for the Cubs, is you might see a piggyback situation. That's just kind of a gut feeling right now. Like there's nothing out there on that, but like where does Assad fit in? Where does Horton fit in after a trade? I kind of feel like that's the answer to the question of what we see from the Cubs. Eli says, what's a low-key pickup you want to see at the deadline? I don't know if I have a player in mind, but I do think the one thing the Cubs need to add at the deadline is something to replace the Brujan at bat. Like Brujan, just replace Brujan. Like Brujan and Birdie. Like someone has to replace that. Someone that you can give guys regular days off to, that you feel more confident in a pinch hitting situation late in the game. Like I feel like that's the one thing the Cubs need that it doesn't get talked about a lot. Like we talk about adding a guy to a starter, potentially adding a third baseman, potentially adding to the bullpen. I think the one thing the Cubs really need is they need someone that, a veteran that you feel like can come back, can come up here in the bottom of the eighth inning, something like that. And, that person can be relied upon to pinch hit and you feel confident in them, because the Cubs just don't have that right now. So that to me is I think that's like the low-key pickup that I would like to see from the Cubs, what they could do at the deadline here. All right, that will do it for this episode of the Locked on Cubs Postcast. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon. Remember, hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts, as well, Apple, Spotify. You can find us there. Matt will have a solo show coming up a little bit here after I say goodbye to you all. So thank you for watching. We will be back with you tomorrow. And the Cubs have reached, didn't even mention this yet, 60 wins on this season so far. So thanks for watching. Be back with you guys tomorrow. Peace.